Hi, I'm Megan Eckerly, and I am here with Phil Donahue, who is best known for his talk show, which was nationally syndicated for 29 years. And Mr. Donahue got his start right here in Dayton, Ohio. So, would you like to tell us a little bit about your start?
Well, Megan, first of all, I'm so glad that you watched all my shows, especially since we haven't had one since 1996. But I'm very flattered by your interest. Yes, I came to Dayton in 1959. That would be the prehistoric, era. And I was very lucky. A sequence of events. I was a news reporter. I'd show up at the fire, and say, "What did it look like when you got here, Chief?" And he'd say, "It looked like a fire. What do you think it looked like?" So I was starting to grow up, as a reporter. And one thing led to another, including a two-way talk show. This was the beginning of two-way radio, where you could call in and you're on the air. And I had a radio show on WHIO, and then I was asked if I would want to do that on TV, and I came to Channel 2, the other station, it was WLW at that time. And kaboom, all of a sudden, and we were scared to death. We didn't know we'd be successful here. We were boring. We had two talking heads, and everybody else had spinning wheels and come on down and all those shows,
Right.
And we felt we had to do issues. The only thing that were going to save us were issues. We didn't have stars. Movie stars didn't come to Dayton that often. And whenever I'd talk to one and say, "Would you please do my show?" And they'd say, "Oh, the Soapbox Derby." And I'd say, "No, that's Akron. Don't go to Akron. We're in Dayton." And beyond our wildest dreams, we wound up with a national television show.
And you are here for the Erma Bombeck Writers Workshop, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And this is your second year in attendance. So what keeps bringing you back?
Well, Erma and I were neighbors, as you may have heard. We lived across the street from each other. We both had stair-step kids, 2, 4, 6. We both were members of the same church, Incarnation Catholic Church in Centerville. And in a way, although she was print and I was TV, we were really doing the same things. I was doing some very unusual stuff. I was, putting atheists on, people like that. People who were protesting the government, people who were protesting the war. And Erma, in her own way, was taking some shots at some sacred cows. For example, motherhood was just the most holy, wonderful thing you could be. And Erma was writing pieces about saying, I think I'm going to sell my children because of the tough part of being a mother. And she did it with humor. And that made her very different. She worked for the Kettering-Ogo Times. And suddenly, she's in newspapers all over the world. In the 70s, of the top 10 best-selling books, she had 2. She was a phenom. And, over the years, she did my program, and she was wonderful. She would say things like, if a man watches 4 football games in a row, he should be declared legally dead. She had a son who was trying to finish at the dinner table, who was trying to finish a joke for 7 years. And when the kids start to drive you crazy, people would say, "What do you do, Erma? What do you do? When the kids drive you crazy, what do you do? What do you do?" She said, "I bought a playpen and I got in it." She was wonderful. And she could also say all of a sudden, she would say some very interesting, serious things that made you cry. She was on millions, with the little magnets, on millions of refrigerator doors around the world. Erma was very, very special. And what do you know? She was my neighbor. And one time she even interviewed me. I felt like such a big shot. Wow. Got my name in the paper. It was fabulous.
Well, that is very interesting. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Megan. Pleasure.